Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today we're back in the garage working on the Countach project. If you saw my last video, after all the COVID-19 lockdown, everything's been kind of pulled back. We were able to get back on schedule. So this is our first time really back in the garage actually doing some major work. Last video, if you want to check it out, the link's above, was just kind of giving an overview as far as kind of regrouping, getting back on track. So what we're focusing on today is I need to make the pop-up headlight assemblies. I've got several sheets of 22 gauge sheet metal that we're going to be using. We've got the bulbs here as well. We're going to have to cut that out, weld it all together. We'll use some chemical welding as well as probably some welding in general to put it all together. We'll get the fiberglass lids put back on it, and hopefully I want to get it to the point where we can sand it down and prime it before we leave. That way, next time around, all we're doing is mounting them inside of the vehicle and then putting the motors in them so we can be done with that and get back on track with the painting. So, all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. This is what I made the last time we worked on it. I made this cardboard mock-up of how the shape needs to go and all that. So what we're going to be doing today is taking all the cardboard off, laying it out onto this sheet metal, and creating templates so we can go ahead and cut it out. And then we're also going to have to use just a hole saw to go ahead and cut out for the headlights as well, because these are, you have your high beams and low beams that get mounted in there. So we need to cut out for that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, lay this out, make the templates, cut out the holes for that. Once we have it on pieces, then we're going to use some JB Weld compound to just pretty much just put it together lightly, and then we'll go with the actual, with my welding gun, and actually weld it along, put it all together. We're going to reinforce these pieces here with some washers to where it's going to be hinged, so that way it's stronger. So we'll get that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start creating these templates so we can start cutting it. Getting the hole saw ready. What I have here is a 4-inch blade. Even though the bulbs themselves are 5 1/4, I'm going to go ahead and make the 4-inch, and then we'll go ahead and just grind it out slowly and get it a perfect fit to widen the holes. And then what I have here on the sheet metal, I laid out the template. We went ahead and marked out the center points, because on the hole saw blade we have that drill bit in the middle where it's going to come right through. So that's where the centers are going to be. So that way these bulbs are going to be perfectly centered here on each side for the high and low beams. Once we get all that set, then I'm going to cut out all of these templates that we made here, and then we have this one here. These are for the 2 side supports. So once this is all cut out, we'll flip them over, make reverse ones off the other piece of sheet metal for the other side. Same thing, drill them out, get out the hole cutter, get all that cut out. Once that's all done, we're going to go ahead and just use some JB Weld compound, put it together lightly, and then take the welding gun, weld everything nice and clean, see how it looks, make sure everything's fine, make any adjustments. Lightly sand it down if I have time, and prime them. If not, we'll do that next time around. That way, when we come back, all we're going to be doing then is mounting the supports and then also setting up the actual motors for them and getting them squared away so then we can head off and get back on track with the painting. So let's go ahead and drill this out. These have been cut out. They actually turned out really good. The next thing we're going to do now is widen them to accommodate the bulbs perfectly before we go ahead and actually cut out the shape. So I'm going to go ahead and widen those. That way we can cut all the pieces out, put it together, see how it looks, and then move on to the other assembly. This whole piece here has been cut. We went ahead and widened all that. Just used some metal clippers and just cut that out nice and round. Also got the sides cut out as well. Here's your headlights here. Here's how they're going to look. They'll drop right in place like that. So you have your high beams, low beams. They fit in nicely on each side. Fall right into place. So then once these are in, we'll make a little retainer to go around that screws in to hold them in place. So what I'm going to do now is here's the side pieces. I'm going to go ahead and connect that with some of the JB Weld just to hold that in place. Then we'll hit it with the welding gun, get all that put together. That'll take care of the assemblies. And then all that needs to happen is drill out the holes here on each side, which is where it's going to kind of hinge on that rod. And I'm going to reinforce that, put a washer on each side just to reinforce that, give it some extra stability. And then I just need to also cut, there's a little lip that comes here in the front, and then once we get these side pieces on, we have the top that'll go on, the fiberglass top, and then across the back here, I think I'm going to run just a straight piece of sheet metal, weld that on as well just to secure it. And then we can do the other side, and then that'll wrap this up. But it's coming along nicely. Actually turned out very good, nice and straight. I'm liking it. Can't wait to get them all put together. We'll sand it all down, prime it real good. Then next time in the garage, we'll get them mounted in there, get the motors put in, get them opening and closing adjusted properly, and that'll take care of these pop-up headlights, and that will add that back. If you've been following any of this Countach replica project, you'll know that when I first got the car, it did not have the pop-up headlights. The company that made it out of Florida years ago, I guess just to take shortcuts, they just had the headlights coming through where the actual turning signals are supposed to be. So I'm moving everything back to where it needs to be and then making these from scratch. So didn't think it was going to go as easy as it is so far, but I'm liking it. So let me go ahead and get more of this done and we'll be back. Just finished cutting the last piece. We have the passenger side, driver's side. All these pieces here are done. I'm going to go ahead and clean up in here a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and straighten things out. I've been kind of hammering them out as I'm finishing them to make sure that any imperfections are banged out, but I'm going to go over it again, get it nice and perfect, clean them up real good, and get ready to start putting them together using the JB Weld compound just to at least hold the shape. Once that fully cures in about maybe 20-30 minutes, we'll fire up the welding equipment and go over it and actually weld everything together real good. And then at that point, I can go ahead and epoxy the lids on there, let that dry. We'll see how we're looking as far as time goes. If there's still some time left in the day, we'll go ahead and light sand everything down and prime it. If not, we'll do that next time in the garage. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up in here and get ready to start assembling all these pieces. Both pieces are drying there. Come around here to the back. I want to show you. As this is drying, we have the JB Weld compound setting here on both sides. Next, all I have to do is put the support that goes from here to here in the back, and then we'll go ahead and put the fiberglass top on it. I was going to use my welding equipment to go over it and weld everything and just use the JB Weld to hold it in place. However, the equipment I have is cheap, so I can't adjust the heat or anything on it, and it was damaging the 22 gauge sheet metal. I did a sample run, so I didn't want to risk it with this, so we're just going to use the JB Weld by itself to hold all that together. These are now done. I'm getting ready to put the fiberglass tops on them, so that way we can at least set them in there, and that'll pretty much conclude this time here in the garage working on the Countach project. But just want to show you what we've got going on here. This whole assembly is completed. I have some reinforcements here across the back as well. I also went ahead and used some JB Weld compound and went ahead and put a washer on each side of where the rod's going to be going through to reinforce it. So that way as these are in, and then they'll pretty much lift up like that and go back down, lift up like that. So these are pretty much done. As we showed earlier, bulbs fit in there perfectly. And then once these are in, here on the back side, then the harness will go in there and the wires will then be able to come through the bottom and then connect to where they need to. So that pretty much takes care of these here. Just letting the compound cure a little bit more, getting ready to put the tops on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab those, we'll be right back. Both of the assemblies are done, at least roughly done. Just kind of have them in place so I can just kind of see how they look. They actually look pretty good. They obviously wouldn't be popped up as high as they are here because I got them just leaning here on the ledge. For the most part, they're done. Next time in the garage, because I'm getting ready to wrap up now, I'm just going to pop the bulbs in and see how they look. But the next time in the garage, just going to go around them. A little bit rough where things were connected. Need to sand them down, smooth them. So next time we're just going to go ahead and sand these assemblies completely, get them all nice and smooth, shaped, any imperfections fixed. Then we'll go ahead and prime them. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is then also mount the studs, the rods that they're going to hinge on. We'll get those mounted, get them actually connected so that way they're in place and opening and closing the way they need to. And then the following time I'll go ahead and, because in the meantime I'm going to order the motors. So the following time we'll go ahead and install the motors, wire all that up, get it all working, the lights working, make sure everything's good. So that way we can then move back to the body where I just need to light sand the entire car, touch up any minor imperfections that surface, and then get ready to paint it, clear coat it, and all that. So with these in place, basically how it's going to be is this will drop down once it's hinged in there, and it'll roughly be in like that. And then as you turn them on, they'll then pop up, coming up to approximately right here is how they'll be. So it's looking pretty good. Definitely a very productive day here in the garage. So that's everything that needed to get done. I'm going to go ahead and pop the bulbs in. We'll take a look at them and just kind of see how they're going to look, and then we'll go ahead and close this out. These are the bulbs that I got for it. These are actually Wagner's, the H5001 and H5006 series, which is your low beam, high beams. If you want to see the product review, I did a product review on these a while back, but whether you're working on a Countach replica or even a real Lamborghini Countach, this is the right size bulb right here that'll fit both. Only difference is if you're putting these into a real Countach, you would have to rewire it. You should have the Italian Corellos in there. And all you'd have to do is pretty much just change out the harness to accommodate this. But the savings is amazing. You're looking at, I believe these are just around like 10 bucks in that range. You have to check out the video that I did, as opposed to $900 for the Corellos. So if you're looking to be cost effective, these are definitely a way to go. They're the right size bulbs. They'll fit in there. All you'd have to do on the real Lamborghini Countach is wire up the harness. If you're doing a replica, then you can do it however you're going to do it. But let's go ahead and pop these into the assemblies. Bulbs are put in, actually looks very good. So you've got your high beams, your low beams just kind of set in place. I still need to make the bezels that'll screw on to hold the bulbs in. Get all that primed and painted. The faces will be black. Obviously the lids will be silver to match the body. But this is pretty much how it's going to look right here. It looks pretty cool. So this wraps up this video here working on the Countach project. I hope this video was informative for you. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I appreciate all of the support, so please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.